Let the drummer kick die. Let the drummer kick.
Ricky Williams runs to the Hall of Fame.
Every time he touched the ball, he sprinted the length of the field.
1998 Heisman Memorial Trophy. Ricky Williams.
The New Orleans Saints are now on the clock.
We thought it was a prudent pick at the time.
Former Dolphins running back Ricky Williams was in breach of contract when he abruptly retired from the team before training camp.
Sometimes some of the things he says are totally off the wall, and then the next sentence makes complete sense.
Smoking weed is more important to him than playing professional football.
Ricky has the heart of a yogi and the body of a football player.
I'm fine with being controversial.
He comes across as selfish because he's so involved with finding out about himself, but that's what everybody wants to do, find out about him or herself.
Because I've been a professional football player and I've had a lot of success, and because people can see my body getting physically abused, I lend a lot of credibility to people who are interested or know that there's something in, alternative healing. So when I was playing football, I started my path as a healer, and it's a very interesting story. And so what I'd like to do with this is just open doors or just activate that place in people where they know there has to be a different possibility. And I'm not saying that my path or the things that I've been through and things that I'm interested in are going to be an answer for them, but I think at least it'll inspire them to know that there's more out there if they're willing to be open to it. What I've always been committed to was changing the way that things function so that something greater can show up. Most people aren't really that in touch or aren't aware of our bodies. And as a football player, because I was using my body on a daily basis, I was aware. Unfortunately, most of the time I was just aware of when it was hurting or when there was pain. And so as I progressed in my career, I looked at it and I said, wow, I spend 6 months of the year destroying my body so intensely. And so for me, I started spending the 6 months of the off season kind of nurturing and taking care of my body intensely. And it made a huge difference. So for me, what I found is when I was a football player, I'd look at and I didn't really look at it except in passing. Then I would see like yoga, or I would see energy healing, and I would see all these things. I was like, that stuff is crap. But when I actually ended up with it in my face, it was something that I could perceive myself. The first place I went, and I wasn't aware that it had anything to do with healing because it was just about food, was I met this woman in Florida named Sarah Melman, and she had something called dietary progressions. And I started working with her to lose weight. But what I found is everything in my life changed. I started looking at things a different way. And it didn't have to do with other people, it really had to do with myself. Because as a football player, especially in Miami where I was carrying the ball, I led the NFL in attempts 2 years in a row, and I'm a very physical runner, so my body was taking a lot of beating. And one day I was sitting in the training room getting treatment before practice, and I was watching the guys come in the training room, and the guys would come and they'd go to the trainer and they'd put their hands out and he would put anti-inflammatories. But when I looked at this, I realized probably 85 to 90% of our team had to have an anti-inflammatory just to practice. And they're doing all sorts of studies nowadays, but the number one thing is the brain trauma. The average person, I think, might have between 2 or 3 concussions in their lives. As a football player, essentially you have a concussion, a minor form of a concussion, pretty much every time you put on your helmet. When you allow your body to assist you in creating the kind of life you want to have, then anything becomes possible. Like, how many people are slowed down or stopped or controlled or halted or by their bodies? It's like an example of someone who has diabetes or cancer, or someone has a bad injury. The doctor says you'll never walk again, or the doctor says you only have 6 months to live, or the doctor say you have to do this in order to give yourself a 20% chance to live. And I think when people hear that, it's like they know somewhere deep inside there has to be another way. There has to be a different possibility. After the 2003 football season, I separated both of my shoulders. I couldn't lift my shoulders. I did yoga for 2 weeks, 2 classes a week, and my shoulders pain was gone and it's never come back. Because for me, playing football for the money, it wasn't enough. And at this point, when I came back after retirement, playing it for accolades and attention, I didn't care about those things so much anymore. But what was there was the curiosity of what I could learn about my body and how I could apply that knowledge to football. I have so much information about bodies that it's almost cruel to keep it to myself. I studied shiatsu, Swedish massage, craniosacral work, pranic healing, yoga, meditation, access consciousness and access to bars. Studied zero balancing, traditional Chinese medicine, Jin, Shin, Jitsu, a little bit of herbology as part of Ayurveda. One of the things that interests me is to kind of go back and like talk to my different mentors or teachers and really share my story through their eyes. And I'm just curious to hear their insights into life, their awareness about bodies and about healing, their comments or what they learned from me, what I showed them. I think there's people all over the world that have a sense that there's more out there. And I think when someone credible acknowledges and validates what other people are aware of, I think it's just like, wow. Yes, I can influence people, I can change things, I can contribute to the world, I have something to give.